Okay, so the Hangout is now technically live, so please, no swearing.
Okay.
If I press this
Wait,
button.
you being serious? Because I'm gonna be nervous about it.
No, I say swear, whatever, however you want to behave. I'm happy.
Yay!
Okay. So yes, we're running a little bit late, but only by a couple of minutes. This gives us 5 minutes to allow people to kind of join us. Also allows us to kind of share on the social medias that we are going to be live very soon indeed. You're currently looking at a bunch of pictures that have been sent in to pics@englishmaninsandiego.com. Thanks especially to Cedric Carmichael and also to Mark Serby, who sent in a bunch of memories from San Diego Comic-Con, from Birmingham NEC, from a Game of Thrones exhibition, London Film and Comic-Con there, which Mark had a picture taken with Bob from The Walking Dead. Do share the Hangout, let everyone know that we're going to be live in about 4 minutes' time. And I'll try my best not to sound so reedy and sickly when we actually go live. This is so embarrassing at the moment.
My camera is really blurry.
Don't forget as well to jump in on the Q&A, let everyone know, say hello to everyone. And also, if you have any questions nice and early. I might as well explain now. I'm not going to explain on the actual Hangout itself because, well, you don't need to hear it on the audio version or whatever. But yes, I've been a little bit under the weather this week because I'm actually post-surgery at the moment, which is fun.
Post-surgery, are you okay? Everything all right?
Yeah, I had a hernia.
Oh.
And apparently I had a hernia in place for about 6 years, apparently.
Oh my god.
It's new to me. So I went in for an operation on Wednesday, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be working again as a DJ on Friday and Saturday. I'll be fine. And it's completely laid me low. It's absolutely flattened me out. It's terrible. But no, thank you very much indeed to everyone who has gotten in touch and wished me all the best. Thank you for all the kind and the good wishes. Thank you.
Yeah, really. Hope you get well, man.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
Just not picking things up like cats. Don't pick cats up. That's
Well, I don't think they really like to be picked up either. Sometimes, most of the time.
Mine certainly don't. But
yeah.
Yes, don't pick cats up.
No.
As I discovered this morning.
The chat box, is that the little chat thing up there that says Hangout comment tracker, or no?
Yeah, that chat is for us, but I think we'll use the little Twitter thing that we've got set up. I don't know. We're going to be talking to each other anyway. So.
No, that's true. You're right. Yeah. We keep each other company, right?
Yeah. Well, now I know that here in the UK we've just had a major storm front roll through. I know in the States it's still a little bit choppy in places. Big hi to Craig Linders. Greetings from South Dakota. The sun is out and it is above freezing. So at least he's kind of recovering. Here in the UK it's just very wet and very grey.
I mean, we're
same as usual.
It's usually in the sub-zero, in the 0 to 20, and we're having a phenomenally warm winter here in the Northeast.
If you want, we could get into the climate control debate.
Everybody have a cup of tea.
Oh yes, I've got my cup already.
Oh.
So once again, thank you very much indeed to everyone who has sent in pictures. I do try and refresh these every week, so please do send yours into pics, that's P-I-C-S, @anenglishmaninsandiego.com. And we've got ourselves a nice viewer count at the moment, so welcome along everybody. We'll do a full intro very shortly indeed. Hopefully your preparations for con are going well. So yes, please, once again, if you do want to send your pictures in, pics@anenglishmaninsandiego.com. Get those sent in. I'd love to see them. Okay.
Rachel, are you drawing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You see, that's a consummate artist. That's what
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a work addict.
Can you show us what you're working on, or is that on the computer?
It's on the computer, so I can't show you, but it's
right.
like a splash page for Doctor Who.
Nice. Okay.
Now you see, this is a bit of a tease of what we're going to be talking about in a bit.
Right.
Welcome along to Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. I've got my cup of tea for the first time in like 3 weeks. I actually have my cup of tea to hand. I'm so glad that I've actually got a cup of tea ready. And I've also been turned on to lemon tea by the missus, so I'm being all healthy, or I'm trying to be the best I can. This is a weekly hangout where we talk San Diego Comic-Con, con culture, and all the pop culture that surrounds it. I invite you to jump in on the conversation. If there's any things that you want to talk about this week, please do let us know by either jumping in on the Q&A on the Google Plus event, or of course you can use Twitter and use the hashtag CupOTSDCC, which we do keep an eye on. We've got 2 fantastic guests joining us today. First things first, I'll say hello to my regular partner in crime. We've got Alyssa Franks from the Friends of CC Forum. Hello, Alyssa. How are you?
Hi, Leonard. I'm doing well. It's been a week in TV. That's been my primary activity, is television watching. Not so much on the treadmill. We could talk about that later. More.
Yes.
Put that off.
We did an episode a couple of weeks back where it was all about getting healthy for Comic-Con, and there's a couple of people who are tweeting their kind of health regimens at me, and it's making me feel so unfit. No, thank you very much indeed for those, and indeed, well, hopefully you're back on the treadmill soon. How's the week on the forum been?
It's been well. Volunteer went live on Wednesday, and for the pre-reg volunteers. It looks like they're going to be, the pre-reg volunteers are going to be open until February 5th. So we're expecting something shortly thereafter, and then it usually goes to Gen Reg. So they want to get the volunteers sorted before they do Gen Reg. So that's.
Yeah, they do try and they don't try and pile their plate so much at CCI. They do try and kind of compartmentalize as best they can. They will try and get the volunteers out of the way. If you have put your name down for volunteer this year, best of luck to you, and we will let you know as well. I'm
in. Yeah, I'm in. Since I'm able to pre-reg from last year, this will be my 3rd or 4th year volunteering. So. It's all of the new people who have got that 30-second window to sign up for the volunteer stuff, which will probably happen sometime, I'd say the second week in February is my thinking.
Okay. Excellent stuff. Like I said then, our 2 special guests, we have ourselves, first up we have Jay from InvestComics,
Hey.
who joined us last year. Hello Jay, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Yes, happy belated.
Well, I think 31st of January is the cut-off point. We can stop saying it now.
Okay.
This is the final chance for me to say it. How's your festive season been? How's your...
Oh, it was great. It was fantastic. Being down here in Florida, it's great. I love it.
Cool. Obviously, we're going to be talking to Jay in a bit in regards to interacting with creatives, and also the collecting element of comics and comic art at conventions. We'll do that very shortly indeed. But that's where we kind of welcome a very last-minute guest who's joined us. Rachel Stott has joined us. Hello, Rachel.
Hello.
Hello.
It's
Yeah,
lucky
Rachel
that
has...
it was bored, so I wasn't out or doing anything. Or
Yeah,
like,
Rachel,
if I have to move, I'll do it.
Rachel, I kind of contacted very last minute this afternoon on Twitter saying, would you be willing to join us? And she was very grateful to say yes. Just in case there's anybody who doesn't know who you are, can you, well, introduce yourself and let people know? Oh, well, there's Alyssa holding up her little contribution to the whole thing. Oh,
I recognise that.
That looks familiar.
That looks familiar, yeah.
So,
I haven't seen this in ages. Sorry, this weirdly enough is what happens to me at conventions where people bring up books and I'm like, oh, I think I recognise that from somewhere. But yeah, I've only been doing this for like a year, so I'm still fairly unknown and stuff. But I did like Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover is probably what people know me best for because it's the first thing I did as well. And then I did a little bit on Star Trek, and now I'm doing a lot of Doctor Who as well. So I'm like drawing the 12th Doctor. Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
and
so,
if you hear a weird noise, that's my washing machine. But
so okay. I mean, that sounds like you're really just getting into the whole idea of the whole comics industry and conventions. Did you go to conventions before, or what's been your?
Yeah, lots. I was a proper convention-going, signature collecting, artwork buying person. So yeah, so now when I go and I have to work, it's a bit of a bummer. But
well, I mean,
yeah.
that's a great way to start the conversation then, because obviously you're now just starting to get into that whole thing of actually being behind the table with the banner behind you and with your artwork in front of you. What's been your experiences so far? Has it been positive? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I didn't realize how much actually working at a convention tires you out, because I always thought, oh, you just sat at a table all day, it's fine. But then I did one, and like I always liked to go when I was a fan, to go to like the evenings if there's like drinks or whatever. And the first convention I did was London Super Comic-Con last year, and I was so tired. I had people going like, oh, you're coming out tonight, you're coming out. And I was like, I'm going home at 6 o'clock to roll into bed and with a cup of tea and just, you know, hopefully not dying. So yeah, so amazing.
What do you end up doing behind the table then? Do you actually? I mean, we kind of saw you there. You were sort of like working away in the background. I mean, is it something that you do at the table as well?
Yeah, I mean, for my first, I've only done 2 cons as a professional now. Oh no, I've done 3. But like I do loads of sketching and things like that, but I think I might cut down on how big the sketches are because I just stress myself out. So I had a few people at New York who were like, oh, can I have the Doctor and Clara in the TARDIS wearing hats and having a party? And I'd go, okay, and then try and draw it in an hour, which is really stupid. So, so basically I'm still really learning how to do it and stuff. Yeah, so if you were lucky enough to catch me when I was still making really dumb mistakes, you probably got a really rushed piece of artwork or something. But yeah, so yeah, it's the stress that tires me out more than anything.
Was there anyone who gave you any advice when it came to how, you know, what to do at a convention? Yeah,
well, because I'd already been to so many as a fan, I kind of thought I knew what I was doing. But you know, well, I was going to say, do you know who Dan Slott is? He writes some book called Spider-Man or something, but he's been really helpful. He's been really, really good. So before I did the convention, he would be like, okay, so if this happens, you know, prepare yourself for this, and blah, 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 and this will be fun, and do this. So he's been really good. And one of the things I was talking about is when I did London Super Comic-Con. That was my first con. And just before the doors opened, I suddenly realized I had no idea what to charge for sketches. So I kind of knew Mark Little, and I ran over to him like, Mark, what do you charge for a sketch? And I thought, whatever he charges, I'll like halve it because I'm not Mark Buckingham. And then yeah, so then I ran back to my table. I was just like, oh, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing now. So yeah.
It's the one thing. I mean, as somebody who doesn't buy too much art at conventions, purely because I know that if I start, I'm just never going to stop, and I'm going to have to sell a house, or I'm going to have to sell a car, because it's just going to be a downhill slide. I mean, do you get a lot of people sort of getting in touch before a convention and then meeting you at the convention to have their artwork prepared? I mean, commissions, or do you really enjoy kind of talking to people at the table and sort of like at the spur of the moment kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean both, to be honest. Like, I think from now on, now that I know what I'm doing, I'll probably do the big pieces before the convention so that they're done and I don't have to worry about them. And then it gives you time to talk to people because, as you can tell, I'm not the shyest person. So one of my favorite things is sitting there and actually talking to people and like signing stuff and doing quick sketches as well. So yeah, I think that would take away, not doing the big pieces would take away from the stress of that, and I could actually concentrate on talking to people. So yeah, but doing the ones beforehand, I remember I think when I did London Talkin Comic-Con, I only had 2 or 3 issues of Star Trek Planet of the Apes out, so I was a bit confused as to why people were asking me to draw things for them. Because they'd email going, oh, I'll pay you this amount to draw Captain Kirk doing this, and I'm like, you do know that I'm not anyone, right?
Well,
like, why do you want this?
say that, we are talking, just in case I asked for a little bit of an introduction from Rachel, and she completely missed out to mention British Comic Awards winner, Emerging Talent.
Embarrassing.
I was in the room when that happened, and it was such a great moment because everyone in the room just went, yeah, she deserved that.
The thing that made me laugh was how insane the list of stuff I'd worked on was, because it was like Star Trek, and yeah, I'll do this issue and this issue, and I was a bit like, oh, I should maybe go out more. Should probably see my friends more often. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're now starting to get a little bit more established, but obviously, like you say, you're just starting to get into that whole being behind the table. I mean, when people do come up to you, what do you find is the usual kind of response? Are they kind of intimidated? Or, well, yeah, I know it's sad. I heard the giggle there. I know it might seem strange, but I mean, as somebody the creative who has made this the work that they like.
Yeah, there were a few times and it's quite strange because I know that when I was a fan, if I met someone who I absolutely loved, I would unfortunately be that type of fan that would be like, oh my god, hello, I love you so much, like all like that. And there were a few people that came up to me and did that, and I was like, oh no, you're mistaken. You're looking for another short English lady at this convention. You're lost. I'm sorry, I'll get help for you. So that was quite, and it made me think like, oh, you know, I used to really fret that if I met a pro that they'd just think like, who's this idiot? Whereas if someone comes up to me and they seem a bit nervous, it's like, oh, you know, this is nice. Let's chat.
You're that person that just goes, calm down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're just like, cool, come on, chill. Let's all be cool. So yeah.
What is the kind of the strangest reaction you've had at a table so far?
When I was at New York Comic-Con, I was on. It was quite funny because I was on Amanda Connor's table because she dropped out of the convention at the last minute, and the number of people that came up to her and went, "Amanda Connor, I love you so much," and I was kind of thinking, "Yes, $200 sketch I'll do for you, please. How nice to meet you too." No, I just kept having to go, "No, it's not her, it's not her." So. Yeah, that was quite funny. That like I had like a whole weekend of that. Plus, I had Jimmy Palmiotti sat next to me to add to the legitimacy of me Amanda Connor.
I mean, it's one event that I've absolutely. I mean, Alyssa knows this. I really want to go to New York Comic-Con. How was that as an experience?
It's kind of terrifying because I think I probably went a bit too early in my career because all of it, like, you kind of exist in a little bubble of sort of, you know, I see loads of creators around London and things like this, and you just kind of get used to it and it's fun. And then all of a sudden you're on a line of artists and they're all these like they're people who have been my heroes since like I was a kid, and it's not like one or two of them all sat next to each other, and so you just walk down there going, what am I doing? Oh my god, this is so terrifying. So it's amazing, and the atmosphere was great, and it was really well run as well. But yeah, it's very overwhelming.
I mean, when I've spoken to Kieran Gillen when he's been on the Hangout, he's turned around and said that the vast majority of time that you get to really meet the people is once the con is over and done with on the evening. The bar is where the most amount of time where you get to see these people. Did you get the chance to step away from the table and sort of like introduce yourself and meet your heroes?
A little bit. Oh, can you still see me? My video's gone down for me.
It's gone. I don't know if anyone else can let me know.
I see a still photo, like just.
Yeah, an unfortunate pose, but yeah, like I got to do a little bit, but not as much as I do at English conventions and stuff. So that was a bit, because that's something I always look forward to, is talking to other professionals and stuff. But it's there's so many people and they're all doing different things that it gets a bit. Everyone's just lost in the mess. And then, of course, I was in a city I'd never been to before, so a lot of it was me, like, sightseeing and stuff. But, yeah.
What was the most interesting mashup that you've been requested to sketch? I've heard some of my comic friends have explained to me, oh, you just have to, like, you think of these interesting mashups for people to sketch, and I was wondering what are the crazy combinations you've gotten.
One of my favorite things that I got asked to do a lot was, so it wasn't like a one-off, it was loads of them, was monkeys in Starfleet uniforms. So I did a whole bunch of, like, when they did, I can't remember what the theme was, but Marvel did a bunch of covers that were like apes covers. So it's kind of that style of, like, cartoony Frank style, like cartoony ape, but with, like, Captain Kirk's uniform on and stuff. So that was really fun. I quite like doing those.
Well, I mean, it's something that I'd never really asked before. I should have asked this on Twitter before. Who approached who when it came to the Planet of the Apes? Well, that whole project, was it something that you had in mind, or what was how did people get in contact with you? How did you kind of? Yeah.
Well, it was kind of crazy because you know how the saying goes, no one ever gets picked up on a convention floor, like it's quite unusual. And so I'd taken my portfolio to London Super Comic-Con in 2014, just to get, like, tips. Like, I'd just always take my portfolio just to get, like, a little bit of help on, like, where to develop and what to work on and things like this. And Chris Ryle just saw it and was like, oh, here's my card, send me some pages. And I was thinking, oh, okay, well, that's weird. And then I emailed him, because, I'd had this happen a couple of times before. I've had people from other companies going, oh, here's my card, please email me, but they always kind of out. Like, that's happened to me about 4 different times before, so I kind of expected that. But then he put me in touch with Sarah Gaydos, who's the Star Trek editor, and it was so funny because you could tell they couldn't really tell me what the project was that they were sort of auditioning me for, because it was still, like, hadn't been announced yet and things. So they'd go like, oh, we see you like Star Trek, can you draw Charlton Heston? And I'd be like, okay, this is interesting way for this conversation to go. So I just did that, and then it got really close to me not doing it because they were like, look, we know I'd never drawn a full comic book up to that point. I'd just done like 10 pages, and they were like, look, never been published ever, never done more than like 10 pages. We're probably not going to use you on this. But luckily, because I'd done some freelance illustration work, they were like, I could give them a work reference to show I could hit deadlines, and that was perfect. That was so worth its weight in gold, because then they were like, okay, well, hi, it's fine. So it was really close.
Be able to hit the deadlines.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing. Like, I was doing an interview the other week, and they were like, what advice have you got for young creatives? And I was like, just hit your deadlines. It doesn't matter how bad you are. You're like an editor's dream then.
So, I mean, obviously the award has certainly helped raise your profile and also your appearances at conventions. I mean, what was the first notice once you got the award, sort of like in your hand? I mean, did you spot any kind of raising of the profile? Did anything change? Did any more companies get in contact with you? What happened?
The weirdest thing was the next day at Thought Bubble, walking through, and there were people I'd never spoken to in my entire life going, oh, congratulations on the award, Rachel. And I'm just like, okay, thank you. But then I suddenly realized I'm a big fan of Twitter, so I think a lot of people follow me on Twitter who I don't know. But yeah, like, and loads of like professionals because that was the weirdest thing about breaking in, was that, and also like growing up, I didn't like none of my friends were into comics, so it was always quite like, this is my little thing I have to the side that I'm into that no one I know is into. And so I'd have these artists and writers who I adored, and they were like my heroes and stuff. And now all of a sudden they're messaging me over Twitter going, "Well done on your award, Rachel." And I'm like, "You're terrifying, okay." So, yeah.
Which is the one that blew your mind the most?
Sorry?
Which was the one that blew your mind the most?
Oh, that's a tough question because there's quite a few. Like, oh, I don't know. That's too hard a question. But there's some guys like Kevin McGuire and Adam Hughes who will like message me now and again. It's like, why are you talking to me? Like, what's going on? Even at New York Comic-Con, Phil Noto, I was walking through the floor and Phil Noto went, "Oh, Rachel, hi! I didn't see you there." And I was like, wait, how do we know each other? So that was quite strange. But yeah, it's been really awesome. It's been really, really good.
So, I mean, what's your plans for conventions now? Because here in the UK and certainly in the US as well, we're now starting to get into the convention season for 2016. Have you got any kind of dates that are certainly set in stone at the moment? Have you got anything planned?
The tough part about the beginning of the year is that because I'm on 12th Doctor and it's quite heavy going, is that I didn't want to get myself too busy. And also I'm not going to London Super Comic-Con, so if you guys are doing that one, I won't see you. Sorry. It's my mom's birthday.
All about priorities, you do right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was like, she wins. And then I'd probably do Thought Bubble again, but I really like doing that one just as like being able to walk around because it's so social. Like I've always found it's really heavy on like just supporting the creators and the actual comics themselves and stuff. So I always like just having that one as a social thing. But I'm doing a couple in America. I had invites from Wizard? Those guys. Yeah, so I'm doing a couple over there, and then I don't know if I'm allowed to say all of them.
I don't see why not. Let people know you're there.
Yeah, I don't imagine why it would be a secret. I'm doing one in New Zealand at some point, which is pretty exciting. I'll probably tweet more about that later on. But yeah, so a couple coming up. Should be good.
This has been a hell of a 12 months for you.
Yeah, I know.
To the point where you're now getting flown across the world.
I know. I'm kind of suspicious there's a Rachel Stott in like Papua New Guinea who's a really good artist, and I'm getting all of her emails or something. But yeah, hopefully not.
When it comes to the sketches you do at Con, what's the kind of size? I mean, you were talking about kind of trying to keep them a little bit smaller. What sort of size do you aim for when it comes to the artwork that you do?
Well, like I said, up until now, I've kind of been a bit overzealous and been like, yeah, sure, I'll draw, you know, a battle fleet of pirate ships with 1,000 people on it. Yeah, no problem. But now I'm thinking I'll just do head shots. Because I was talking to another artist, and she was saying about how, because I went to her like, doing convention sketches stresses me out. And because I'm always really worried that they're not good enough, and that, because people are coming here and paying money and want to get a sketch off of you want to make sure that they get one that's really good. And she was like, oh yeah, I didn't like doing them either, so I just do quick head sketches. And I thought, why didn't I ever think of that? Rather than putting pressure on myself to produce like a finished giant piece. So yeah. So I've done like a whole range of different ones. There are some very strange commissions out there drawn by me. But yeah, like one of the ones I had for my first convention was Columbo. And I was a bit like, this person I think is maybe not really who I am. But that was quite fun actually. Yeah, I like doing that one. And yeah. So.
Certainly, I mean, when I have spoken to creatives and especially artists, it's awkward to talk about conventions because at the end of the day, it's taking them away from home. It's almost taking them away from the work as well. I mean, not only that, for some conventions as well, they're having to pay for the tables. It's an actual investment. When you sort of like, the reason why I was asking about the sketches and the artwork is because when you do speak to people on the other side of the table, do you feel that there's an actual transaction going on there, or is a monetary reason why you're selling the artwork, or is it more of kind of like you're giving back to a fan, as it were? You know what I mean? That relationship.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean, because it like, considering I'd spent my whole like adolescence and beyond going to conventions and paying to get sketches off people, when I was on the other side of the table, it just struck me as very strange that you know, these people were coming up to me because they specifically wanted my artwork, which for me was a very new thing to have happened. And I was like, oh, I just want to give them something for free for being so nice and just wanting to come meet me. It just seemed a bit strange to charge them. But I thought if I didn't, I'd get kicked out of the convention. So I should probably charge them something. So yeah, so I like doing it because it's just the most insane thing for me still, for people to come up to me and go, oh, I read that thing you drew, and now I would like to buy some original. It's like, oh my God, that's just the most amazing, nice thing someone could say to you. So I'm always so incredibly flattered if someone comes up and asks for something. It's just a really, really, really nice thing to happen. So, yeah.
I mean, there's been a conversation online over the last couple of months about people charging for signatures. You know, when people bring up the books to kind of drop them down, especially if you can kind of sense that they're going to be using them to flip the books. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, that was one of the things I got told about people flipping comics. I'd never even thought of that as being, which sounds really naive, but so at my first convention, a woman did come up with a pile of like 20 edition novels, and she was like, oh, will you sign these, please? And I kind of went, yeah, okay. And I was trying to chat to her, and then I could tell she was not in the mood for talking. Wow. And I was like, oh, you have a nice day. Oh, these look really heavy. And she was just like, yeah.
In the quiet person's defense, I never talk to artists. I can't. I just
really?
I can't do it. So I would suggest that maybe not all of them are flipping.
Oh no! Like she had like a massive pile of just the same issues. So, but
sorry, because somebody flips. I'm getting the echo. Sorry. Let me.
Okay, she's going to sort out her headphones. Okay, so I mean, there's.
Oh yeah, about the signature thing. Like, I figure if it's someone who's like really old school and hasn't got another source of income, like maybe they're too ill or something to create any more income, I don't really have a problem with that, because that's the only way they're going to make money in an industry that doesn't really favor the sick and old very much. But if it, like, for me personally, like, I would never do it, but, you know, you got to take it on a case-by-case basis, I guess. Like, I think that any situation, you can't just go, like, this is okay and this isn't okay, you know, so, yeah. And then it's a person's decision whether or not they want to pay for it, because, to be honest, if it was a signature that I wanted and they were like, okay, but you have to pay me $10, so I'd just go, nah, and then leave it. Yeah.
There are some artists that I'll pay for, but they've got most of them have a box where you can make a contribution into the old age fund.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like, I thought that was when I was sat next to Jimmy Palmiotti. They had a box for, I think it was the Hero Initiative.
Exactly.
On his table. Exactly. Yeah, and I was like, that's such a good idea. Like, imagine how much money can be generated that way. So, yeah, exactly. So there's different, you know, it's all shades of grey all over the place.
I thought I'd show what I had gotten from sketches that I've gotten, and just give some people an idea about how much I paid for them. I got a Perez for, I think, about $60 last year. And I just picked up a Hama, Larry Hama, an Iron Fist. I picked that up on the secondary market for about $40. So just to give people an idea of what people are talking about in terms of sketching about prices.
Sorry, we are actually still getting a little bit of an echo, which is a bit awkward.
They seem like good prices, though, for those guys.
No, those were great, and that's why I purchased them, because I don't tend to spend a lot on sketches. I just don't like it. I tend to go more for the art, the full page art. Do you sell art at your table?
I can't do pages because I work digitally, which is awkward.
Right, right.
Yeah, everyone always says to me like, "Oh, you should work, physically, so that you've got pages as like a backup thing." But I'm like, I'm happy enough, I do need to make prints and things because the few conventions I've already done, I didn't have any. I just had my comics and did sketches. So yeah, I think prints are a really good. Because people like them maybe as expensive as a sketch, and they can just grab it and go and stuff. I did do some little postcards at London Super Comic-Con that went down really well. They were like some Doctor Who ones, and that was before I was working on Doctor Who. So yeah, that's it.
One thing I would recommend for people is to get one of these top loaders. If you're going to be getting any sketches or posters, these are $5 to $10 each, and you just slip it in and it protects them very well.
Cool. Let's see.
I'm wondering if the echo is Rachel.
Oh, it might be. Is it because I'm not wearing headphones?
It could be.
Should I put headphones on?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll ask the question real quickly because I want to bring Jay into the conversation because certainly in terms of original artwork being, Rachel was talking there about selling artwork and against, because when I've also spotted a couple of conversations about artists who are now working digitally, and they kind of have to in today's market to kind of interact with the colorist quicker, to get work in to publishers, and sort of like not having original artwork available anymore. What's the investment like for original artwork, and especially say for someone who is just kind of getting started into the industry like Rachel, Jay?
Well, the original art, what is the investment like? Is that the question? Because I had a hard time. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay. Yes. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear that well. It was a little choppy. I apologize. Basically, the original artwork is always a better investment, or a better collector's item. Let's not call it an investment. It's a better collector's item because it's like, in comparison, would you rather have a Picasso painting or a reprint in a comic book? You'd rather have the original painting. So you always want the original where it came from. So as a collector, you want the original artwork. It's always the better way to go.
So, do you see kind of like people getting your artwork, Rachel, kind of like as investments?
Not really. Does anyone buy artwork as an investment anymore? That doesn't seem too wise. Because, for me personally, I would just. Well, for one thing, if you get a sketch off someone, it gave me an excuse to stand and chat to them for a little bit, which, is probably annoying. But yeah, and then you'd have something as like, oh, look, I love this artist, now I've just got a thing that's specially for me made by them, which is like just a nice thing to own. So in terms of investment, I wouldn't invest in my artwork.
Well, you wouldn't, but the thing is... The thing is that basically when you get an artist like Rachel, who's very good, that years from now, 5, 10, 20 years from now, people are really going to know you, and you're going to have an eclectic, vast work. You're going to have a very large library, and people are going to want to eventually get your first works so they can say, yeah, I got Rachel's first work on paper.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, it'll be in a collector's market. It'll be worth something, and there's nothing wrong with anything being worth something, because cars are worth something, coins are worth something, stamps are worth something. Everything has a worth to it. As far as an investment, if you want to put it that way. So you have collectors and investors, and that's the way. There's a medium for it. So that's what people do.
And just to dovetail on that, I've always looked for things to maintain value. And if I like something, like these artworks that I held up, yes. I'm happy owning that piece of artwork for that amount of money, and I'm comfortable with the notion that in 5 years, if I want to, I could resell it for about what hopefully at least what I paid for it. And to me, that's worth it.
That's definitely worth it, because in a real world, especially in today's times, you have to understand that people aren't guaranteed their financial situations all the time. So I might run it. I have 3 kids, I have a family. I pay mortgage for a house. So what if, God forbid, something happened? What if I need money? I would have to turn to that. Not that I want to, but I would have to. So if I would collect something, I collect it because I love it, I like it. I'm not thinking, oh, well, I'm going to collect it so I can resell it right away. Do people do that? Have I done that? Sure I have. But I more or less, you have a lot more collectors out there than you do investors, per se.
Yeah,
that's a question for Rachel. I mean, when you have seen people come up to the tables and to talk to you, what would you say is the percentage? I mean, you can't obviously tell straight away what people's intentions are when you talk to them, but what would you say is the kind of percentage of people who are obviously in it to kind of to look at your work as an investment?
That's really hard to judge, because you've got no way of knowing. Like with the comics, it's easier because they're bringing in big piles of them.
Right.
But,
it's easier. It's easier to figure out how many people are flipping. Those are the ones that bring in this stack of 20 comics, and they're flipping them as soon as they get them back from CGC, versus the people that are holding them as an investment long term. I think or because they love the comic. So that's a more interesting ratio, I think.
I think it's really.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Rachel. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, the only time I was very, very aware that that's what was happening was someone came up to me with a Star Wars comic, and it was in, Alyssa was showing us that drop-in plastic thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was in one of those, and the guy was like, oh, this is is it grade 1? Is the best one or something?
10.
Oh, it's A. 10. Okay. Well, he was like, this is grade, the best. And he was like, it's absolutely pristine. And he went, please do a sketch cover on it, and then I'll sell it on. And I was like, wait, doesn't that affect the grade if I draw on it? And it was really good, because it was the Saturday of a con, and I said to him, do you mind if I take this home, because I don't feel very comfortable drawing on it in the convention. So I took it home and just lifting it out, thing oh, and then drawing on it
That's
so
funny.
yes, that was the only time she just said to me oh, by the way, I'm gonna flip this, and I was like, okay,
Yeah, I think if people are honest right up front, that's a great thing. But I find it very bothersome when I'm talking to a creator like you, Rachel. I'm going up to get a couple of signatures, and you have that guy in front of you that brings you 20 comic books. I find that very, very disrespectful, because there's other people waiting to speak to you. There's other people waiting to get a signature. They want to get to know you. I think there's a time and a place for things like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I saw a really good method that a lot of creators use now, is saying look, you can have more than say 5, because some people put a limit and say 5 books per person or something. Mm-hmm. But there's a few people, and I think the best tact is to say 5 books at a time. So if you want more than that signed, you can, but you have to go to the back of the queue. So I mean, I don't have that problem, because my queue is 2-3 people. So that would be ultimate diva behavior, which I totally would do.
But when you're talking about a George Perez, or Frank Miller, when they literally have a line around the convention center, and someone's walking up to George and dropping $5 in his bucket, which is great for Heroes Initiative, and you have 25, 30, 40, 50 books. Oh, can you sign these? I just find that very, very odd, and it's very disrespectful, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the best tact is just say, go 13 blocks away to where the end of Frank Miller's queue is, and come back.
Right.
So, I mean, what's the most you've spent on a piece of artwork at a convention, Rachel?
Oh, me? Oh, see, because before, I've never had a job that's given me a lot of money, so spending £200 or something would be out of question. Although I always used to get tempted by Stuart Immonen pages, because you can buy his old pages like for a few hundred on his site. But at a convention, probably like 40. And I'm trying to think who that was. One of my favorite ones was I got a Chris Sprouse, so that was good. But that was only like $20. Well, it's probably more than that, but and that was really good just because he's one of my favorite artists, and I think it was one of the few English conventions I'd ever seen him do. And yeah, so it was pretty awesome to get that one. So I've got like favorites.
I'm just going to say, I can imagine now that you're also a part of the industry as well, that they're just giving those, give them to you for free as well, you know, because you're a mate now.
I don't know. Now it's worse because it feels cheeky. Oh wait, what's that? Sorry, hang on.
What's that, Alyssa?
You were talking about how much somebody had paid for art at a convention, and at New York Con, I ended up getting a Lee Weeks. I hemmed and hawed for it. Like, it took me, I swear, I just pestered the guy, and I actually spoke with an artist. And I ended up getting a Lee Weeks page, Daredevil page, for $300.
It's
and
beautiful, though.
It's the most I've ever paid at a convention, and I couldn't resist. I'm a huge Daredevil fan, so it was.
Rachel, you're going to have to work out, just to let you know, Alyssa will take any opportunity to show off any Daredevil artwork.
Sorry.
On that note, like, Alyssa, pay attention to InvestComics, because after the first, there's a new checklist coming out. We're trying to do it like monthly, and you're gonna like it since you're such a big Daredevil fan. So
okay,
check that out.
I'll
That's
look
a good plug.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That was seamless.
Yes.
I mean, okay. Well, we've talked a little bit now about investing in comics and in artwork. I think it's best to bring Jay fully into the conversation now, especially when it comes to talking about the artwork that you get at conventions. I mean, is it something that is worth as an investment, or is it more of a long-term thing now?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Leonard. Finish.
No, I think I pretty much got there.
Okay, I'm sorry. It honestly depends on the artist, the person doing the work for you. You can get a little head sketch on a cover and get it graded, witnessed. It depends on who it is. If you're dealing with a newer artist, it depends on what she's working on. If you say you get an Amanda Connor Harley sketch on one of her covers or something like that, and you try to flip it, you're going to make more money because Harley's popular, Amanda's popular. That's her character. She owns it now, as opposed to an artist, like even Rachel. If you get Rachel doing like a Doctor Who sketch on a Doctor Who book, that's her forte. That you're getting what the artist does on your comic book, but the newer artists don't tend to grab as much. But it also depends upon if you have someone doing Spider-Gwen on a Spider-Gwen book, things like that. There's so many different factors that go into it. It's amazing.
I mean, yeah, I always get confused. Well, not confused, just kind of the different permutations to the kind of things you can get at the Artist Alley. I mean, when it comes to sketch covers,
yes, I
always find it a little bit weird that sketch covers do so well in terms of investment. But is it something? Is the original cover usually the preferential version, or are blank sketch covers usually? What's the
blank sketch? If you're gonna want to flip something, or you're gonna want to make money on something to pay for your show or pay for your hotel room, or all the money that you spend, you go for a blank sketch cover of the. If you're gonna get a blank cover of Batman Dark Knight, and you get a Frank Miller sketch on it, yeah, that's it. You just pay for your hotel room and your tickets. But if you're going to do the same...
Possibly your mortgage.
Right, but like along those lines, but basically if the blank cover sketch is probably the best way to go. If you're looking to maximize your potential money back, that's probably the best way to go. It costs
Is
more,
there,
but it's the best way to go.
as someone who deals in the comics investment world, when you go to a convention, is it something that you actually go to as part of what you do as you're investing, or is it just to kind of keep an eye on what is on the ground floor, as it were? I mean, the things that you buy at conventions in terms of comics, or is it done away from the convention?
As far as going to the convention as far as trying to look for speculation books, I mean, you go there, you go there for both things, really. You always try to go there with the keen sense of what can I buy. Being from Wall Street, a Wall Street background, I always have the idea of buying low, selling high. So the whole idea here is to buy the lowest premium possible, so that if you ever need to sell, you're going to sell at a very high premium. So you try to hit both, and the thing is that, in my opinion, as far as speculation goes, I like to go there to buy things that no one's really on the grid yet about. I like to try to get things that people just don't know about, that I haven't mentioned on the website yet, that I will mention on the website eventually, maybe. Who knows? If I remember, I don't know.
That sounds quite fun to try and be ahead of it.
There's a couple.
What was that, Rachel?
Oh, I said that sounds quite fun, like trying to anticipate, the market.
That's exactly what it is, Rachel. It's a whole big market, and Wall Street equates to comic books very similar in that way. Books go up, books come down. Books go up, books stay steady. It's the same thing. It's a market.
Yeah.
For example, last year, I in anticipation of the second season of Daredevil and Elektra, I ended up purchasing. I was looking around the Boston Comic-Con and really searching for the best 168 that I could find, which is the first Elektra, and absolutely managed to find a decent copy, and it came back at a 9.6, and I was able to get a Frank Miller signature on it, and that's like one of my that's the centerpiece of my collection now, and that will never leave my hands. Right. So you got to go in with a mission. You got to know what you're talking about. Know your know your the comics that you're looking at, if you're looking at comics, and search for it.
Yes, it's not that easy sometimes, because a lot of times the idea I have, someone else might have that same idea, and those books are like nowhere to be found. So it's okay, it's part of the hobby. I'm not the only one to come up with great ideas. Everybody has great ideas, but getting the first appearance of Elektra signed by Frank Miller is a type of book like we all have, collectors have. Is a book we'll never get rid of. You just hold on to that and say, hey, the chips are down, this is my book. I don't care. I'm not getting rid of it. It's just the way it is.
I don't care if I have a mortgage payment due.
Exactly. Right. Say, I'll be homeless. Oh, well.
I'll still have my book.
Right, exactly. But there's usually that one book or a couple books that you really hold on to. I'm sorry, Leonard. Go ahead.
No. I mean, this is something that myself and Alyssa were talking about before we came on air about the invest. Well, I want to try and stop using the word investment. And I know it's InvestComics, but it makes it like such a monetary thing about it, and it's a little bit mercenary to some degree. But there is that idea of making money from the reselling of comics. But the thing is, with today's market, and especially with the big 2 or 3, especially when they are rebranding themselves almost on a yearly basis,
yes.
Is there, at the moment, any kind of worth to new comics, or is it all... I mean, I think Alyssa can word it better, because she was asking about Silver Age versus newer titles. I mean, DC, they're going to be doing #1s again of pretty much all of their titles. Are they going to be worth buying and investing in?
Short answer, no. I mean, the thing is, first and foremost, I want to make sure that anybody that knows InvestComics or goes to the website, right on the top banner, it says InvestComics, invest wisely, read comics. So it's all about comic books, not about, hey, let's invest, and that's it. It's ridiculous. It's absurd to even think that. Yeah, I know the name definitely is, gives that off, but I just want to point that out. But as far as the relaunch or the reboot, whatever it is, that to me personally, I don't think the books that are going to be worth money or books that are going to be of any kind of substance would be the Silver Age, the Bronze Age. Those books are really the ones that collectors really need to get. We don't care about the Spider-Gwen first appearance at one time, which we said on our site, stopped spending $900 on her first appearance. I mean, what is wrong with you people? It's absurd. Like, who would do that? Like $900 on a first appearance of a character that came out 2 years ago, whatever it was. I'm like, wow, it's absurd. So you got to really understand where the speculation market is, what it's doing. If there's a first appearance of a modern character, yeah, sure, pick it up. A first work of Rachel, her first work, pick it up. Because it's her first work, it's something to collect, it's something to speculate maybe on, who knows, She's around for 25, 35, 40 years, God willing. We'll have her first comic book work, Oh, yeah, so it's important, who wouldn't want, Stan Lee's first work, of course you want that.
Early.
Yeah,
absolutely. Not to get you too big-headed there, Rachel. You did just have the word Stan Lee, and your name.
I'll do it, darling.
But it's just the way it is. You gotta speculators are speculators, but collectors are collectors. You gotta try to mesh the two and have a happy middle ground there. You're not gonna make money on everything. It's impossible. Because if you did, I'd be sitting in my 14-car garage, mansion talking to you right now. It just doesn't happen.
It seems like there's a real line between the speculator who buys the new books and the newest Image books and flips it,
right.
And is able to get it slabbed quickly and out the door, and ride that wave, the Spider-Gwen wave that you were talking about. Right. As an example earlier, and the Silver Age, Silver and Bronze Age collector who's searching for those key issues, and then there's also the person that's buying the new books and simply to read them. Right. So you really, I think, have three types of collectors out there, and they all get lumped together. The people who read don't quite understand the people who are the Silver and Bronze Age collectors, like myself. And
right.
Yeah. So.
And the funny thing is, here's a funny thing which I've mentioned on the site, and anybody knows me. You have your readers, the comic readers, right? And they're so dead set to say, well, I don't believe in that investor's speculation market, right? And I always come back and say to them, well, that's fine. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion. So I asked them, do you have The Walking Dead #1, the original copy? They're like, yeah. So I say, well, can I buy that for cover price? And their immediate answer is no. What? No. And I said, well, I thought you didn't believe in speculation. So why can't I buy that comic book for cover price? So everybody has their way of saying, well, I don't believe in that. That's nonsense. Well, if it's nonsense, then why don't you sell me a 1952 Chevy for $400? It's nonsense. It's not nonsense. There's a medium for it, and you have to accept it. As a creator like Rachel, what you can do is you can say 5 comics per person, like you were saying earlier, and maybe charge people if they're gonna grade a book. I don't know, but the thing is that the medium is there, and we have to accept it, and that's it.
Sure. Some people they'll charge $5 if you're going to get it CGC'd, and
yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. With a decent well-known artist,
right?
Who is
exactly.
saying, and they put it in the Heroes Initiative box, or it goes towards paying for their supper.
That. I like that idea that there's this a charity fund that they're helping out as well, that they're paying forward. I like that idea.
It's a green box. If anybody goes to cons,
Right.
We've got a couple of comments on the Q&A which I'm going to throw in. Thank you very much indeed for everyone who has jumped in on the Twitter and on the Q&A. We've got Craig Linders who's saying, I always buy what I like. I do joke with my wife every time she opens her retirement statement that we have comics. They could be our retirement fund, right? They're our retirement fund. Thank you much indeed for that. We've got Ian O'Hara. May I suggest before buying artwork going to a Michaels or an art and craft store and purchasing a giant art portfolio case with a handle? It's a fantastic investment and easy to keep and store your comic artwork. This is where I can see Alyssa is. There you go.
Well, this is one thing that you can purchase, which helps just keeping all of your artwork. He's talking about more of a portfolio one with the big handle.
Right.
What I would suggest you don't do is just buy a A4 binder, like a cardboard binder, because then you end up putting it into your suitcase. It gets crushed by British Airways and destroys half of your books.
Oh wow!
I can say this from personal experience. Thank you very much indeed, British Airways. We also have had a question from Michael Leventhal. Hello, Michael. This is for Rachel. Do you prefer to do commissions for stuff that you're familiar with, or anything and everything is great? Which do you prefer?
It's a mix, which is the worst kind of. It's natural. And I have to admit, if someone comes up and they're like, "Oh, draw Spock," I'm like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing. It's fine. It'll come out okay." But if someone comes up with something that's really interesting that I'm into, because like I've had a few people ask for like Magneto and X-Men, and I was like, "Yes, this is really cool. I get sure, superhero stuff." So that's good as well. So yeah, either. Whatever, it all goes. It's all good.
Are you looking forward to getting into doing superhero stuff, or would you like to stay with like the more smaller independents? Where do you see yourself heading?
Well, like when I was growing up and up until I actually got hired, like my whole portfolio and things like that were always superheroes. So that is something I'm really into. Like I absolutely adore doing Star Trek and Doctor Who, just because like those are two really big passions of mine. So that's fun. Like I love it, but I would love to do superheroes as well. That'd be really great. It'd be nice if I could just keep doing both.
I have to say, Rachel, it's really good to see a female artist in the hobby. In the comic book industry, there has been such a massive influx of female artists and creators coming in lately that it's really good to see that. And I just want to say, hey, keep it up, man. Just keep it up.
Thank you. It was kind of crazy because growing up, it was only really like Amanda Connor that I was aware of.
Exactly.
So
yes. I mean, there was a few more. There was a few more like here and there, but Amanda was really the one everybody really knew.
Yeah,
Louise Simonson.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there's a few, but the fact that there's another female artist like Rachel coming in is such a good thing to see, because this industry lacked female, creators for a very long time, and it was so male-dominated, and it's just good to see, So I hope to see you 35, 50 years from now.
Me too. I keep eating vegetables and exercising.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, don't talk about exercising.
Oh, sorry, I forgot it's taboo.
No, I just have been kind of slacker these past few days, so that's why.
We've got a question from Janine Licaro. Is Rachel planning on going to San Diego Comic-Con?
Oh, I think my video broke again. Oh no, I didn't. I'm back. I'm not. I'm afraid. I know that the Titan guys, the guys that published Doctor Who, are going. So they did drop me an email to say like, "Oh, are you going?" And I was a bit like, "Oh, sorry." Maybe because New York Comic-Con made me a bit scared of like throwing myself in the deep end for a year or so. Maybe next year. I'd love to because it looks amazing. But yeah. I'm only 5'2". These things are like twice as big for me. You have to keep that in mind.
Just ask Chris Ryle and Dirk to buy you a plane ticket over there. They'll help you out.
I'm sure they'd be really up for that. Like, yeah.
Yes.
I personally found the New York Comic-Con Artist Alley to be very well run from a fan perspective. It seemed that it was also well run from an artist perspective too. So you might get. I hope all of your other cons are as well run as New York Con was.
London's Comic-Con's really well run.
It's much better now that they moved the artist from upstairs to downstairs in that other area. Mm-hmm. Remember when it was in the convention area? It was like it was crazy up there. I'm so glad they moved it downstairs. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Although, were you guys at New York Comic-Con this year just gone?
Yes.
There's like a little between the main convention and Artist Alley, and at one point it got so blocked up that they blocked it off, and you had to go outside and back in.
Yeah, we heard about that on social media. Keeping a close eye on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was trying to get to a Doctor Who screening, and something rushed through. No one to get through. They looked at me like, you have to go outside.
Well, we've got Michael Leventhal who's turned around and said if New York Comic-Con scared you, then definitely go to San Diego. New York Comic-Con is much more intense in the comic area than San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, it's this year as well. 2015 was the first year I'd gone properly around the Artist Alley at San Diego, and it was just so laid back, and there was just such a positive vibe. So hopefully you'll consider it in the near future. Yeah. But like I say, we're just going to have to get IDW to fly you out. So.
All right, that's all. Yeah. I'll give a call to Chris and Dirk. Say, hey, listen, you gotta do something right.
You did that one of their SDC exclusive covers last year. I mean, come on, it's the best. It's the worst. What else can they do?
But this artist that doesn't work for you anymore because you moved on to Doctor Who.
Hey.
No, but those guys are lovely. Like, I met Chris Terrell for the first time since doing Star Trek at New York Comic-Con, and it was so crazy because I just walked up to him and I was like, "Oh yeah, hi. By the way, thank you for giving me like my entire career and life." Like, so that was sweet.
So, Chris is a good guy.
It's really nice to actually.
Yeah.
Right, I think
to meet her for the first time, which was awesome.
Just to update people, if they haven't been reading the forum on the Netflix, I wanted to just mention that ReedPop is in talks with Netflix to bring Daredevil to C2E2. So I'm not quite sure. Wasn't there something that you had found out about Netflix in San Diego, Leonard?
Yes, I'm just about to dig that up now. This is an email that I sent off to CCI. This is off the back of the conversation that we've been having over the last couple of weeks about the very conspicuous absence of Netflix at San Diego Comic-Con. And the question I asked was, especially with the shows that are so SDCC friendly, I was just very curious as to why Netflix did not make an appearance at Comic-Con. In regards to CCI, this was David Glanz's response. Well, I certainly can't speak for Netflix, but I don't know of any outstanding issue. I know they have participated at WonderCon, and we work with the same team, so I'm unaware of any problem. I do know, however, that we do get a lot of inquiries when a particular studio or network doesn't participate in one of our shows, but typically it has to do with timing. Now, that's curious considering the J. Michael Straczynski comments, which we do know about, that there was a very specific grievance, so we're still waiting to find out exactly what the response from Netflix is, because I think that's going to be possibly the only way we're going to find out exactly what that issue is. So, okay. Right, I think we've covered pretty much everything that we put on the docket. We've kept Rachel away from her sketch pad for long enough, so I think we'll wrap things up there. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. If there's anything you want to talk about in terms of what we've talked about today and keep the conversation going, use the hashtag CupOTSDCC, or you can tweet me at Englishman SDCC, and we'll put together a post to kind of follow on this conversation, because I do feel that the whole idea of buying and investing in work at a convention is a worthwhile conversation. Thank you very much indeed to my guests. Thanks again to Alyssa for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa. Where can people find you?
friendsofcc.com/forum.
Excellent stuff. And she got the address right this week. Excellent. That's what we like. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for Jay for joining us. Thank you very much indeed for your time, sir. Where can people find you and find out what you do?
InvestComics.com. And every single social media outlet you could possibly think of, we are there. Just look for us.
Excellent stuff. And of course, they can find you on Twitter as well. What's your Twitter handle?
At InvestComics.com.
There you go.
I mean, at InvestComics, I apologize.
Excellent stuff. And last but certainly not least, thank you very much indeed to Rachel Stott. Thank you very much indeed for your time on a Sunday, last minute.
Oh, no, it's all right. It's been really fun. Thank you for having me.
Hey, not a problem at all. I know that you have a website where people can see certainly artwork that you're putting together at the moment. I do really like the Ghostbusters piece that you've put up of the new female-led characters. Is that for anything in particular, or is that something you just put together for the site?
No, that was just fun, but I did have Paul Feig, who was the director, email me to say he really liked it, which was strange.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
he
great.
messaged me on Twitter. He messaged me on Twitter, and then we chatted a little bit, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I really like your illustration." I was like, "Thank you."
Fantastic.
Keep it cool. Keep it cool. Yeah.
Like, just act like you've been
I was a
there
bit like,
before,
"Hi." Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Oh, you, how nice of you, whatever."
Yes, this is your life now, Rachel. You're just going to have to accept.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. Where's the best place for people to find you? I mean, you like you say, you're very active on Twitter.
Yeah, too active. Like, I'd probably be drawing more comics if I wasn't so active. But yeah, at Rachel at Work, which when I came up with that as a Twitter handle did not seem dumb, and now it does because I have to go Rachel AT Work. It's the worst. But yeah.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much.
There's a girl that's got at Rachel Stop.
Thank you so much indeed for joining us. And you can find me on Twitter, Englishman SDCC, and also if you just type in Englishman in San Diego on most social medias, you'll find me there. I am going to be posting the full Q&A that I sent in to San Diego Comic-Con, to CCI, to David Glanzer. That will hopefully be going up on the website tomorrow. It's going to be covering Netflix. It is going to be covering the accommodations that LA has put together for WonderCon, especially considering how the relationship that they have with San Diego. Talking about the accommodations that LA have helped out with. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there, and that will go up on the website tomorrow. Thank you very much indeed for watching today. We're back again next Sunday, and for all of us, to everyone watching, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.